sought after and pricey real estate you can sell.
Do the houses go up for sale very often, the south of Providence?
There's a lot that are for sale, yeah.
Not that I'm buying.
Sure, I mean, I can be your broker.
I wouldn't mind that.
A lot of them range between $1 to $15 million. Now we're on Meeting Street. You know why it's called Meeting Street? That's where all the meeting houses are. The meeting houses are non-Anglican or non-Episcopalian congregations. But the British Crown would actually not validate the church. They call it a meeting house and they can pay taxes. And they put it over here. So you have freedom of religion, but it wasn't really free.
Yeah.
And even in the Anglican churches, you have to pay to pray. You have to rent dues to worship in the church.
These houses are beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell us about the really skinny alleys. We went walking through some of those skinny alleys, like Stalls Alley and Philadelphia. Why were they so skinny?
Well, they weren't made for cars, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But they were they're basically just alleyways to cut through different places. A lot of them are back entrances to older houses and stuff like that. There's St. Michael's Alley as well. There's St. Michael's Alley as well. So there's really no historical evidence besides the fact that they made them skinny because they were alleys. And you got to think this city is 1670. So think about it this way: the houses are narrow and far back, the streets are narrow, and the alleys are narrow. You know why? We didn't have any land. 40% of it is landfill, and the peninsula is only 1.5 miles wide today. So you can imagine just how much there was a lack of building space down here. There's a meeting house, a church now, First Scots Presbyterian Church, beautiful neoclassical once again, revival style building, 1731. Cool people. One of the gorgeous stained glass windows with the Star of David embedded in them. Super awesome. That's the first meeting house you'll see down here. You also see First Baptist Church coming up on our left, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
Why did they have the Star of David and then if it was a Presbyterian church?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Judeo-Christian.
Oh, what you said?
Judeo-Christian.
Yeah, so it's just a Judeo-Christian sign. Another thing on top of that is a lot of people who built these buildings, they came from a lot of different backgrounds. So although the people who built them by hand were all going to be slaves, a lot of the architects, the people who were commissioned to build the stained glass, from all sorts of backgrounds.
Okay.
And there's a very large Jewish population down here in Charleston. We actually have the oldest continuously running synagogue in the United States.
Where is that?
It's on Hazel Street. Wow. There's actually a house we'll see that has a Trinity theme all throughout it with the guys from Southern Baptist. And it's the Irish Catholic intensive service building. Oh, really? It's pretty, very eclectic down there.
I saw Celtic crosses around here and there.
Yeah, you do see those Celtic
The
crosses.
Hibernian all, Hibernian Society.
Yeah.
This is a great house museum that's open back up since COVID-19. A lot of them are still shut down. Nathaniel Russell House, 1808. And the main focal point here, it sports one of two of the only single cantilever floating spiral staircases in the world. The only other one is the Nunnery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The carpenter went in, almost said nothing, and left. I think it was an angel who built it. We know a slave built this staircase, but unfortunately he wasn't allowed to sign his name back in the day. So his name's kind of lost in history, but his work with hands are not. It's really trippy, very illusory. Looks like NCS was brewed and it came to life. Each step supports the one, or is supported by the one beneath it. I really encourage you to check this place out. Really cool. So first and oldest Baptist congregation calls Charleston its home. 1682 First Baptist Church, y'all.
Wow.
And it's not much of a looker right now. They're doing a lot of rework on the back, rebuilding the private school area. You can see a glimpse of the sanctuary. My sister got married down there. Really pretty Carpenter Gothic style sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
Now one really neat thing to check out. See that barbed wire right there? On that gate? That's called a chevaux de frise. That was put in after an 1822 attempted slave rebellion led by a guy named Denmark Vesey.
They look brutal.
Yeah.
Now, do y'all remember the Charleston 9 shooting a couple years ago?
Yeah.
He got sentenced to death in that federal courthouse up there, actually. The church he shot up was the oldest black African Methodist Episcopal AME church in the South from 1817. This was built in 1820. So Denmark Vesey actually was a freed slave who won his lottery from the Caribbean. He saved up money as a carpenter to buy his first wife and his daughter's freedom. He's denied that purchase, so he's a bit perturbed. He goes to the basement of Mother Emanuel AME, and the church that he starts inspires what would have been the largest slave rebellion in American history. It was so large, kind of loose lip sink ship, so it was hard to organize. They all get routed out, and they're all hanging down here at the battery. But it scared the slave owners enough to put the barbed wire around the churches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, where did your sister get married at?
First Baptist Church.
The one we just met. Or they could have organized a good rebellion if they had had social media.
It's amazing like how talented these slaves were down here that built this city.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had a lot. Joseph Ragg from Ragsboro brought in almost 10,000 in 2 decades in the 1700s through Charleston. He owned 817 in 2 counties personally and had 20 in his house. So it's definitely kind of a big industry down here. Two-thirds of African Americans can trace their lineage to Charleston.
You feel the breeze comes when you hit each street.
Now you do get the police.
Now you see why they have those piazzas.
Yeah, that's why they're built that way. It gets more and more the closer we get. Cruising.
There's that Charlotte Frise again on that house, see there? By his balcony.
Oh yeah. There's that power bar. Yeah.
So we're gonna pull up right here.
Oh,
On my right-hand side over here, y'all, this house is actually another stone facade. And it's actually black cypress wood, carved to look like stone. Absolutely gorgeous. That was built by Colonel George Williams for his son. The rounded piazza on it is called a rotunda. Now George Williams built this house for him and his wife on our left-hand side. A 24,000 square foot Italianate style manor, Charleston's largest privately owned home.
So when you worked on
Built
those
in
pictures that I'll be able to
1878.
share?
By 200
That's like a
Irish
home
indentured servants.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
That's the biggest house in the city.
Largest privately owned in the city.
Wow.
1878, 24,000 square feet.
Oh, there.
Now,
No way.
on the,
I love that house.
you'll see the braided rope around the door,
Yeah.
around every other rod of the cast iron gate, around the windowsills. That's
That
the sign of
rope,
a
yeah.
shipping merchant. So there was only a couple classes here in Charleston originally. You'd be a merchant, you'd be a doctor, lawyer, planter, or you'd be a slave. There was no middle class, and there were no single women either unless you were a lady of the night. Pretty wild.
By the time you were 18 or 19, you were hooked up.
right. So the merchant class obviously made a lot of money. Now check out the solid black cypress Corinthian style columns up there. The most articulate and detailed style column you could have. Absolutely gorgeous. Now how do they make money enough to build this house, and then his daughter's house down here on the corner, you know, post-Civil War. You know, because after the Civil War, everybody else was poor. So how's he having all this money? Well, he was a shipping merchant turned into a war profiteer. So he became a blockade runner, and he smuggled goods through shipping barges from the Union and the Confederacy. So no matter which currency collapsed, he would maintain his wealth. He only traded in gold and silver. This was before the Federal Reserve. So he was filthy rich up there. He kind of atoned for it because he did a lot of philanthropy. He built this house on our left-hand side for his daughter as well, this beautiful White House. Check out the replica of the Arc de Triomphe up top. To remind his daughter of France, where she got engaged. This one was a wedding gift from Colonel George Williams to his daughter. That wraparound porch you see there is called a veranda. All the stained glass inside are commissioned pieces by Louis XIII of New York City. The rounded, single-pane bubble glass windows are on the bodegas. Absolutely incredible artisan craftsmanship.
You can hang out on the deck there.